Now with us is Mati Munk, manager of the International Division of Mercantile Discount Bank. Shalom.
Hello.
So you participated in the panel about really how to do it, how to make Aliyah, how to go through a good klita. Tell us about the issues that you talked about. We're talking about mortgage, we're talking about working with the banks.
Working with the banks in Israel is very different than working with the banks abroad, as everything else. People undergo a lot of language problems, culture problems, not understanding their statements on the simple level. And then on the more complex level, how to manage your funds. A lot of people making aliyah and are living off income from abroad.
So a lot of people transfer their assets, the money, at the first stages, really from bank to bank, or does it take a few stages later?
Generally not. Generally, people who hold assets in the country of origin will keep their assets, the majority of their assets there. There is something in finance called home bias. I don't know if you're familiar with the term. Home bias means people always feel less at risk at home. Even if economically it doesn't make a lot of sense.
The question is, where is home at this
Where
point?
is home?
Right.
So Olim who come and make aliyah, their home is a transition. And yet, the origins of home bias are, you are, for example, going to be more comfortable investing in a company where you see the product on the shelf. Because you know it's active, you know it's selling, you know it's going. Now, a lot of people making aliyah are still based from their bias point of view, financially, they still feel more comfortable in the country of origin. They follow the news in that country and therefore they may be following the financial papers, whereas here they're not likely to invest in local products because they just can't understand when they're picking up the newspapers what's going on.
So, but when it does happen that they do the complete transfer, you're there to help.
Right. It generally happens gradually. A lot of times it happens when there is a sharp change in the currency and where people who are building on a certain income based on the rate of exchange when they made aliyah, all of a sudden their income may have less buying power than it did 2-3 years ago. And then they start saying, hold on, maybe we should have some sort of shekel income and run our finances on a shekel base. And then we start slowly. It's not going to be overnight. It's a big change. It's a big thought change. It's a different currency. It's different products.
How would you, compare between the times when before the economic problems in America, where people used to come from a very successful life in America to deal with what goes on in Israel, and today when sometimes people are coming because I'm not making it in America, let's just continue and try it again here.
It's a very different aliyah. We're seeing a different type of aliyah. Not saying better or worse, but it's a different type because a lot of people here are coming and looking for jobs. Often it was mainly people taking early retirement. There is a certain amount of people who are coming, for example, from the United States just because education, summer camp, health insurance is much cheaper here. And therefore the integration process is going to take a little bit longer because people are less comfortable and have more challenges when they come. But it happens. Generally, the majority of people stay and they find jobs, and on the contrary, people who find jobs when they arrive here, they are more likely to be integrated than people who came here and never worked for their whole lives. A new thing that we're seeing is people who are coming but continuing their job back home or back in the States.
On the web, things like that?
On the web or traveling backwards and forwards.
Sometimes it's even cheaper traveling backwards and forwards than sending a kid to school in America.
Yeah, the 1 o'clock flight on Motzei Shabbos is called the doctor's flight. It's already known as the doctor's flight. People are traveling backwards and forwards. If you travel back from Heathrow on Thursday night, it's full of people who have just done a week's work in London or Manchester and are coming back. It makes for different challenges. You don't have the challenge of the parnasa, you've got challenges of family. You've also got a challenge that your expenses are usually in the local currency and your income again is in a foreign currency.
A challenge or an advantage?
It depends which way the currency goes.
Right.
But it's generally another added factor which has to be taken into consideration.
So one thing's sure from this conversation is there's lots of guidance that is necessary. People need to understand what their options are, and that's what people like you and other people are doing, and that's very important.
And having people help you out and asking questions of people who went through the same thing. How do they manage find out what's best for you. There's no one correct answer. It's very subjective. And most important thing is to carry on living in Israel, Eretz Yisrael, which is amazing in every other sort.
And it's doable.
And it's doable.
Okay, Madi Munk, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank